In this demonstration, I'll show you how to synchronize groups, check membership, and use those groups within a retention policy. So let's get to it. First, let's take a look in the Exchange admin console. There are certain group types that need to be used in order for the group-based retention to function correctly. I found that distribution lists, dynamic distribution lists, and mail-enabled security groups work. M365 groups will be synchronized, but the membership will not, so don't use these. Also, dynamic security groups cannot be mail-enabled, so they can't be used either. I'm using dynamic distribution lists in this demo. Okay, let's head over to the Insight Management Console. So once here, we will go to Archive Collectors and pick the Exchange Online connector that is used for user synchronization. So I'll go and do that. Once here, we need to go to the Provisioning and Configuration area. What you can see down here is what's called Archive Provisioning. From here, if you have Provision All Users selected, as a word of warning, this will synchronize groups, but their membership will be empty. So we don't want to do that if we're going to be using groups for retention periods. In my demo, I'm using dynamic distribution lists, so that's what I'm going to select. And then this opens up and I can click Specify Lists. As a point to note, if when you come to this screen, this list is empty, then what we need to do is go and manually run the job in order to synchronize the groups over so they're available for selection. So I'll show you how to do that. Once you've selected the distribution lists you need, if we go over to Configuration, here we have the ability to synchronize all the different areas. You'll notice here has Synchronize Active Directory Groups selected. Again, as a word of warning, this will synchronize all Active Directory groups, including those M365 and Teams groups, but those groups can't be used for retention purposes as their membership is not synchronized. If we go to Exchange Online Sync Scheduler, this is where we can choose Run Now in order to populate the list I mentioned earlier so that we have the lists available for selection. Okay, so once that's been done, the next place we want to go is to check that since synchronization's occurred, our group membership is actually all synchronized across. And the way we do that is come to Configuration and Account Management. Now in Account Management, you'll notice down the bottom here we have distribution lists and dynamic distribution lists. If I expand dynamic distribution lists, here are the 3 different groups which I've synchronized. And if I pick one of those by putting a checkbox next to it and click Apply, I can then see all of the members associated with this group, which then gives me confidence that that membership has been synchronized appropriately. At this point, I can go ahead and use a group within retention management for my retention policy. So if I come across to retention policies here, I can then create a group, or I'm going to pick one which I created earlier, and then I can add in the target. So the target group I synchronized by selecting Add Target. I can change the type to look for groups, and mine I've named provisioning groups. So I can then pick the group which I'm interested in order to then select it for the policy.